If you follow these 4 principles, you will overcome sugar addiction, have stronger will, and become healthier. So I have been struggling with sweets pretty much my whole life. I remember when I was small, during the night, I sneaked into a kitchen. I had a drawer there full of sweets and I always stole some. One night my dad came out of nowhere, caught me red-handed. There were no real consequences besides the fact I went to sleep without sugar in my blood. As time went on, I realized there might be consequences when it comes to my health and other aspects of life. No matter how hard I tried, it always came crawling back, and I tried all kinds of ways how to quit sugar, like cold turkey. I was fasting. I was trying to reset the system back to the normal, hoping that it's not gonna come in such a massive wave of addictive behavior, let's say. But ultimately, it failed over and over. I came to the conclusion that there are some ways how to regulate the approach to sweets or some form of candy or soda. So first thing I'd like to point out that I think it's important to define a goal. Like, what is your ideal outcome when it comes to, let's say, sugar addiction? So in my case, it was that I will eat some kind of sweets once a day. It could be, I don't know, a scoop of ice cream, or it could be something healthier, dates or dark chocolate. So the outcome should be like, I'm not quitting sweets forever, like that's it, but I'm just gonna regulate it and keep it per once a day basis. The key aspect here, when you're setting the goal, it should be long-term maintainable. It should be something you're able to keep up as time goes. It definitely shouldn't be like a short-term goal where you try to use your will to overcome the desire, but then you find yourself basically breaking the rule every day. So the goal is long-term, setting up the expectations properly and adjusting them if clearly doesn't work. Second part of the introduction, I'd like to define the sugar addiction here. By sugar addiction, I mean really a desire for something sweet in the form of monosaccharides, so some kind of candy, or it could be soda with sugar. It's definitely not, I don't know, eating a lot of kiwi and banana. There might be some impact on your blood insulin, but it's not as toxic as the sugar. And second point regarding this is that there is a major problem with the sugar in form of candy, that there's tons of other ingredients which doesn't help your health overall at all. So the second part, before I share the principles, there are some assumptions before you apply these principles. The result may vary a lot. The first assumption is you eat balanced diet. So there's some protein, carbohydrates, and some fat. The percentages differ, or the ratios differ based on your situation, but I'd recommend looking up the recommended intake. In general, if you are like an athlete or you move a lot, you do a lot of cardio, if you have like 3-hour bike ride and you take these sugar packets to regain energy, that's not the problem. But in general, overall, have a balanced diet. If you are vegetarian, you don't eat meat, I'd recommend definitely eating generally larger portions overall. The second assumption is definitely water intake, but the key idea is always have water around, always have it on your table, always have it by your side. Okay, and now coming to the principles. First principle, and I think the cornerstone principle, is to journal. Write down what you eat every day. Make sure that it's in the form of something simple to access, an Excel spreadsheet, anything which is easily accessible, easily formatable, and just write down what you eat that day. That should give you very clear insight. What are you consuming, when, what's the structure, what are the ratios, etc. The goal is not to write down calories. If you glance over what you eat, and you can kind of clearly see the history of it. It brings awareness to what you eat. You can see it in black and white, and when you are eating something, you kind of have it on back of your mind as you keep going and doing it regularly, is that you kind of have it black on your mind that, yeah, I'll have to write it there. Maybe it doesn't match my goal. That's one thing. Second one thing, you can then analyze clearly what you're actually eating. It can help you in other aspects of life, in other aspects of your diet. It doesn't have to be just that. You might find out that you will enrich the diary or the journal with some other things. I have supplements there which I take daily. I have also workout there, so I can see clearly what was the structure of the day, how much I moved, what other supplements I've taken. So the second principle is to eat regularly. Unless you have a really strong reason to skip meals in terms of like intermittent fasting and I don't know, all kinds of other diets, it is highly recommended that you eat your breakfast, lunch and dinner on time, because once you start postponing either of those, the potential for cravings increases every minute. So we often postpone it because of work, because of family, because of whatever comes into our life, or we go somewhere and we don't expect it. We end up being there instead of like 1 hour or 4 hours. We are really hungry and we crave for like some quick sweets or quick food, and this is where the problem happens. So unless there is a really specific reason, eat regularly. The third rule, that's a really tough one for me, and I guess for many other people too. It's eating consciously. It simply means that when you are eating, you focus on the food you are eating. You don't do anything else. And I think nowadays it might really sound boring, especially if you're alone, but any kind of like a social media, even a book or video will lead to a distraction, and this distraction will lead to less chewing and worse digestion, and eventually the extractions on vitamins and minerals might not be as good. You might have all kinds of other problems related to the whole digestive system. And overall, like bringing the awareness during the food is just in general beneficial. It corresponds with the journaling, just being more aware of what you eat, what you consume, how you consume it, when you consume it. It all helps overall to the cause, to the goal we set at the beginning. The fourth principle I would like to share is to always keep healthy snacks by your side, same as with the water ideally. So when you crave something, you always keep something which is not as bad as the Snickers across the hall from the vending machine. In my case, it's really dark chocolate and dates. Those are really amazing. It's really amazing combination of sweets, but they are really not as unhealthy as other things which you can buy in prepackaged form. There are many other things. For many people, it could be just some form of fruit. Okay, and that sums up the principles. I'd like to do last section on strategy. In order to maintain this long term, I think first aspect is to always try to prioritize maintaining the journal. If everything else fails, always try to write down what you eat that day, even though it's not perfect, even though you forget, and you might even forget a whole day, but try to get back to it and always write down what you eat. I think that's the key aspect, because that keeps everything else together, and as time goes on, you might remember more the other core principles. And second one is avoid perfectionism. It's really, as I said, doesn't have to be perfect. You can break the rules, you can completely forget them for a couple days, but the key is to maintain the long-term vision, and as time goes on, it's going to become much more easier to actually do those things.